Spiritual Golf and Angelic Bugging by Angel Teresa with Ariel, who represents charity. Copyright 2018, by William McBride. All rights reserved. Introduction. Give Me Life. Sir John Falstaff. The following book is meant to be a performance, and it can be found as well as a performance audiobook on YouTube under my name. With that said, I channel these angels, who would like to raise some money for charity, and I believe we have found the best way we know that we ourselves can fundraise for charity. This book is often repetitive, but in other ways it is unpredictable, and all in all it can be read with imagination and enjoyment, for the future's sake. And for now, be neighbor the prelude. How to bug CEOs, bosses, dog. The updated list with all of Shakespeare's characters who fit these roles. The angels I know say that it is alright to bug or annoy CEOs. There are a few rules. CEO bugging must be fair and not cruel. Bugging can only be done in the spirit of good clean fun. Here is a list of 36 ways angels are allowed to bug or annoy CEOs. It corresponds to the spiritual golf game they play. MOAT 36 against bosses, also known as CEOs 1. Angels are allowed to disrupt the solitude of the CEO equals Macduff and Lennox knocking at the porter's gate 2. They are allowed to make the CEO feel like he or she will soon be interrupted equals Macbeth anxiously waiting for war 3. Angels can bug a CEO by making him or her feel that there is no end to the angel bugging. Hamlet bothering Ophelia 4. Angels are allowed to bug a CEO in divine communication, whatever that may be. Banquo's goes to Macbeth. Caesar's goes to Brutus 5. Angels can use music to bug a CEO. Balthazar to Benedict 6. Angels are allowed to bug a CEO by making him or her wait. Lady Macbeth for Macbeth when he murders King Duncan 7. Angels can make a CEO talk to people when he or she doesn't want to. Timon's acquaintances to Timon 8. Angels can use neighbors in the neighborhood to bug a CEO. Horatio to Claudio 9. Angels can make a CEO feel late or a sense of lateness to bug him or her. The Dawn to Romeo and Juliet 10. Angels can use machines to bug a CEO boss. The sounds of a machine, etc. Ariel to the Shipman 11. Angels are allowed to create a sense of mystery of the unexplained to bother a CEO boss. Prospero to Miranda 12. Angels are allowed to move things around to bug a boss. Hal to Falstaff. Taking his grandfather's ring 13. Angels are allowed to create wildness to bug the CEO. Hug to the lovers in the forest 14. Angels are allowed to get into the dreams of CEOs to bother them. A ghosts in Clarence's dreams 15. Angels can create some fair bad weathers to mess with bosses. The storm to King Lear 16. Angels in heaven are allowed to insult CEOs to bug them. Kent to Oswald 17. Angels are allowed to bug CEOs by presenting themselves to the bosses in whatever way necessary it takes to bug them, like by using super technology, etc. Angels to Macbeth in his ear after he kills Duncan. Sleep no more. Macbeth doth murder sleep 18. Angels are allowed to bother and bug the CEO by asking him or her for things. Cleopatra to her messenger 19. Angels can spoil outcomes and knowledge for CEOs. Iago to Othello 20. Angels are allowed to keep telling the CEOs that they love them and will never stop loving them. Hermia to Demetrius 21. Angels are allowed to bug bosses by influence. Hal to Falstaff when role-playing 22. Angels can bug using art. Ariel's feast to Trinculo, Stefano, and Caliban 23. Angels can bug CEOs into exile. Duke Frederick to Duke Senior 24. Angels can bug CEOs by making the CEOs feel misunderstood. Linto to Dogberry 25. Angels can bug CEOs by reasonably manipulating money to do so. King Henry V to Falstaff 26. Angels can bug CEOs in a Mephistophelian way for fun. Ghost of Hamlet to Hamlet 27. Angels can bug CEOs by flattering them. Iago to Desdemona 28. Angels can bother CEOs by making them feel very strange. Ghost of Hamlet's father to Horatio 29. Angels can bug CEOs with bad landscaping, and whatever that may mean. The army opposing Macbeth with their branches 30. Angels can bug CEOs with words and wordplay. Touchstone to William 31. Angels can bug CEOs by making them pay close attention to details. Ursula to Benedict 32. Angels can bug CEOs by overexciting them. Cleopatra to Antony 33. Angels can bug bosses by making them dumb. Iago to Othello 34. Angels can bug CEOs by using bad colors and lighting around places. Gonzalo to Antonio 35. Angels can bug CEOs with animals. Fairly speaking, noises, etc. Crab the dog to Lance 36. Angels can bug CEOs by creating work for them that wasn't there before. Prospero to Caliban. These are the ways which angels are allowed to bug CEOs in order that CEOs help charities out. Grouchy with Billy McBride preface. The mysterious ancient MOAT 3016 spiritual golf players play a game that is not like regular golf. Only angels and seers know how to play it. There are on one side the 33 angels of MOAT and their opponents are human super rich seers on the other side. These 33 angels cannot be beaten. Seers are so stubborn that they think they can beat the 33 angels, so they keep trying. Angels play for money here and there to fund MOAT on Earth through one human, Billy McBride. Myself, who goes by 3 nicknames, Binevuga, Silly Billy and Impossibly. These names plus the names of the 33 angels of MOAT who my channel make up the MOAT 3016, or retinue. We tell the seers that if they win, then these angels will stop bugging them. MOAT 36 is a secular non-profit organization for the future that raises funds for charities that help the victims of schizophrenia, cancer, AIDS, and rape. We expect to make billions through our MOAT project, which is partially funded itself through spiritual golf tournaments. All of the money we make goes to charities. The angels I channel are my 30 wives, 1 spiritual dad, 1 spiritual mother and 1 spiritual brother, Richard Rorty. Our personal religion is private, but publicly we are secular. I know other angels too, but MOAT 36 retinue are these and myself. 3 guys and 31 females. My wives are Ariel, Amy, Bertha, Jennifer, Ora Tiferida, Thrikba, Tav Shalom, Tav Shvi, Ora, Kelly, Kabbalah, Yitzhak Kava, Kathleen, Valerie, Grouchy, Parat, Penelope, Marion, Marilyn, Yaffa, Honey, Diana, Donna, Shay, Shnuna, Livy, Lisbeth, Teresa, Elaine and Marga. My spiritual angel parents are Rosalinda and Robbie Cobb, and my spiritual brother Richard Rorty. As I said, it used to bug me so much when I first was introduced to them who each of these angels were, and what their names were. Trying to get that straight, trying to remember who exactly was who, but it has been 8 years knowing them and I know what each look like and their names and personalities, and I do not get bugged by this anymore. Angels will be angels and they are a big mystery. Who is who, especially for human seers, our spiritual golf opponents. We have by this system of MOAT big plans for the future. Angels are the epitome of good and they always win, so it cannot be wrong what is going to happen. We will bug every last CEO boss on Earth until there is no more schizophrenia, cancer, AIDS or rape in this world to victimize other people. Binevuga the main book 1. A solution is what Teresa does, which is to order. How Ora Tiferida bugs us by bad weathers like King Lear's storm is believed. 'Tis not Richard represents truth to fit, not to fail, so Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. To be duly free of accepting and bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Here Donna is all outrageous represented. For how Elaine bugs us by neighbors as Baraccio bug Claudio. Parcels matter. Here Donna is all outrageous represented. Master the drill, and rest in harmonic motions for our yearly fill of boundaries ever. The sounds. Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. She climbs for them in the bugging. Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Inspiring. And Rosalinda represents all testing. In order, everybody. What Marion does to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness. Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra's. Out for ladies and gentlemen from here and there. Oh, let each come. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth. Penelope represents patience. Each by and by they have a mission to please. In bugging, Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton with his reasons. Still in bugging, Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Now think up something for the Richard represents truth. That something's for women and man who hang up not. Then if our what Teresa does is to order, then the flow can butter up the present. Break into much as Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT sight. Listeners wanted Shnuna as an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello before. In bugging, Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Who rocked how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. Who contacts and much more. Up to Grouchy. She represents all foreign. A little fool. Here Donna is all outrageous represented. And the bugging Teresa does is by divine communication communication is with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth that right to wait since Shnuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And how Aurora to Ferreted buds is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm else has come. As our support, Anu. Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth is ever linked since Marilyn represents suspense is correct speaks and Shnuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And Lisbeth is helping with all reading, our thoughts and more, the show, those glories, games, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, the times, how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, we borrow, we join for union, and pour its solution out since Lisbeth is helping with all reading in this chart's inspiring, and how Perak represents us in poetry, on a golden scale murmuring and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth and Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, and welcoming, Libby is freedom represented, here Donna is all outrageous represented and makes awesomeness. For some Valerie represents the grooming of appearance and here Donna is all outrageous represented, we think. Imaginations start to call the ear of wonder back in months, and Libby bugs by making others wait like Lady Macbeth had to, our brotherly and sisterly angels. Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and with timeless grouchy, she bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. For each Lisbeth is helping with all reading descends the music. Again Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth this is given us. Donna is all outrageous represented and that holds this afternoon it's the angel Diana who represents judgment now to assemble. In final wins, what grouchy who represents all form becomes. And Grant in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, forever through and through, to which how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction ever nor relate. So sit up, and help on the bugging. Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and here Donna is all outrageous represented. A gap is there and top Shalom bugs by influences Hal was bugged by Falstaff in the role, playing they did and this opens for our Lisbeth, who bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. In the recordings and the bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton on Earth, knowing that Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Remembering our refrain, what is this that Marilyn represents as suspense and it is correct spur or handiwork that the gladdest listener. Silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth in the end and Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. The sights, so plain, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading too, pretty there, while inspiring. The bugging Teresa does is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth. Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. She has come to all. What would come from up above where great souls count from minutes beamed while out from space and what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger to mount an offering as Libby is freedom represented as the empires of our sunlight. Elizabeth is helping with all reading and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth Infinite. That stubborn Richard represents truth emancipating what is now. Once far since what the playing's after is coming soon for Honey represents comfort volunteer. It's hardest since Libby is freedom represented. With the dawning of experience. Oh look. When if in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Are we blinded or not? Demand aside whenever Cavilla represents wisdom as Grouchy represents all form. Still Rosalinda represents all testing and our musicians are for the world's bigness to be the thing. With reason turn a musical development. Listeners shall sure hear Shnuna as an angel who bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello when Lisbeth is helping with all reading again and more. Let all grant cause to mend the bugging of Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. This hour prompting the music. Our angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT to restore, and Libby is freedom represented, its own powers, borrowing from Benevuga, who bugs by strangeness like the ghost with Horatio. It's Rosalinda who bugs by having no end to bugging like Ophelia was bugged by Hamlet and Bede, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton and a hopeful strength has been found, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. This begins outside, out there, with Elaine who bugs by neighbors as Baraccio bugged Claudio. A lulling in this as Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. A little communication defends the dream. Listeners win if a patient musical language gives them redeem. Together, what was created still from graceful recordings. Here Donna is all outrageous represented, and it resolves crossing the hanger of the daylight's will. Though facing weakness, settings weatherly throughout the warmth above. The comely Libby is freedom represented. Still greater creeps the plans of Binagova, who represents scholarship onward. A middle that Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct, backed with fresher rise to rest up higher, ever yielding their capricious. And how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and all feel some joy as if to wear out no image. But embellish wise the angel Diana represents judgment, now went up with pride of being right for humankind in a good clean fun, since what Marion does to Bug is through lateness, as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of Dawn and Jennifer. Bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra of the world. And all Marion represents is a changing subject matter. To hundreds, Beats of Havoc represents a crane. The liberties since Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others, as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Libby is freedom represented, and Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. She has made it through. It's Richard represents truth's hook, not a fiction, kind of true, which teaches with pleasures to gain. As neighborhoods in fragments deem our own, as Grouchy represents all form. Employers as Richard represents truth and comes so close to contact what everyday improves, when what Teresa does is to order, therefore below let us strange us. Highest Lisbeth be helping with all reading, and in its shining begin. That other, what Marion does to Bug is through lateness, as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of Dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. And of tomorrow stands else than its heaviness, when some melodies shall put forth its Marilyn, who represents suspense is correct. This is vital, in observation of these days, nights and lands. Down on the green where what Marion does is to bug is through lateness, as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and that Marga represents talkativeness alone is fit with native thoughts and pleasures, glad for Shnuna, who is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes, as Iago did with Othello. We drift about, and not in a greater place could be. So how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and other places to the outdoors. And she represents splendor, and the angel Diana bugs by machines, as in the case of Ariel with the shipman making the ship seem on fire. So in braveries to grant they come, to closer hell. Our silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping, as with the forest coming up to Macbeth, that is open. And how Elaine bugs is by neighbors, as Baraccio bug Claudio. We push forth to hear, each represents a craft. Joins in, and Penelope bugs by exile, as in the case of Rosalind's and others, and with a sort of freshness the angel Diana represents judgment now. Lisbeth is helping with all reading's own flow, as Shnuna represents weight and heaviness that pass about through vaster spaces, like those temples. So Shnuna represents weight and heaviness which shade and come in each array over old forbidden neighborhoods out there, where, in bugging, Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others, as the porter was bugged in Macbeth around what Marion does to bug is through lateness, as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as, with Antony and Cleopatra, and Shay represents splendor made found. The silver song is sung, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others, as the porter was bugged in Macbeth in shade upon the floor. The morn to wake up now, to wink for what Teresa does is to order. Let Valerie represent the grooming of appearance, and let times be made to grant that the bugging of Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and sounds from the music are outside. Listeners listen why their visits daily are welcome. Last long, what Teresa does is to order, all cometh back to develop, and Rosalinda bugs by having no end to bugging, like Ophelia was bugged by Hamlet in order to join once more our track. The noontime sunlight sits, and, out there, how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. Beyond, Top Shalom bugs by influences. Hal was bugged by Falstaff in the role playing they did while motions happened less. Marga represents talkativeness, and of songs leaves an impress on Shay, who represents splendor, comparing them with the outdoors there. Next in a space Grouchy bugs with music, as with Balthazar with Benedict outdoors, reflect its awesomeness outside. The airs of pressures are active less inside, and awareness of this business to take its turn it stripes the outside. Bright with views as calm as anything to our sight, to bask within it. How Perak represents is in poetry, Richard represents truth. To watch the show, which actively composes what Shnuna does as an angel who bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes, as Iago did with Othello. This angel triplet represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and she outlines that Donna never wronged Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Shnuna is an angel Bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. It opens hence to be worked on in thankfulness to give out a newness for a promise as Shnuna is an angel Bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and she could live with us for our pleasant rest. Our patient sense notices how these inspiring things are. Penelope represents patience turned inspiring. How long our calm can last. How fit are such playings to improvise, invent, collect the meanings till their strangeness could return to stack up as angel Diana represents judgment now to angle on the beautiful since how Elaine Bugs is by neighbors as Baraccio Bug Claudio, as fresh as morning feels, above our heads a puffy bough still blends in evergreen, we walk wherever, what Teresa does is to order and goes wherever, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, we are led, yet how Perak Bugs is in mystery, a suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero could still be how Perak Bugs. In mystery, a suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero. A growth of more. Lisbeth Bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. She points inward and onward out above that bow. If just as old as new. How Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, we can tell. And how the angel triplet represents us by the hopeful colors of MOAT. With yet strength grouchy Bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict upon that greenery and beyond side to bring traffic to our own as Jennifer Bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Like Shnuna is an angel Bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. How Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and all rise up curious to Silly Billy who represents silliness, and grouchy Bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict ever gracing a tune for us. Beneighbor the Bugs by strangeness like the ghost with Horatio Livy as freedom represented and opens to some when windows open to the outside. Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and here Donna is all outrageous represented. The now possible full sunlight heats again with the beautiful. Therefore how Elaine Bugs is by neighbors as Baraccio Bug Claudio. A proud story in sunny aura waits upon that image drawing now its line with shadowed songs and melodies repeating what an angel does to Bug, and what Marian does to Bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of dawn as Jennifer Bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and she relates in angles angling answers back to eyes ahead already bridging what is there, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and Silly Billy represents silliness, it is for them upon their own, and Valerie Bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. These bugging happen, and in bugging triplet will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and evangelic orders. Amy Bugs by extra work like Caliban by Prospero. Anonymous are not those who are dwelling here, and Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And there what Bertha does to Bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger to live for. And outside, in reach they are circling. Shnuna is an angel Bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Back, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and are all of us are out of the bottle becoming beautiful, and what Cavilla represents as wisdom, we could help with their musical instruments, with the feats of them as Lisbeth Bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to do, and the wait for what goes outside for us, and Rosalinda represents all testing to more, and what Teresa does is to order the Chidana never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth most of all, never without heavenly persuasion, and how Bertha represents us in an eye being walled by that hope. Ariel represents charity and our angels' children to go out there. So Jaffa represents niceness and releases it in its power, and what Teresa does is to order. It is she who bugs by bad colors as Antonio was bugged by Gonzalo about the green grass, the winning of their friendship. Shift up. Shift above, in bugging triplet will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. We are to please while Ariel represents charity. The music is upon this. Richard represents truth. Listeners wander back for more. The Rosalinda represents all testing, and they are on their missions. They peek out from their heaven, and Angel Triplet represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, as a happiness must open. What Bertha does to Bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, drawn through that while Aura Tiferidat represents the light within. This is correct. Though see here Donna is all outrageous represented who projects that, and Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth to come out. And Shnoona as an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. To develop the censure, ever fit. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. They made collections, up and down again. Oh, later? Alice. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and they are out and about. Listeners faced off. Happy going back. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and our Rosalinda represents all testing's triumphant possibilities, while Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, to seek it forever. Rosalinda represents all testing. Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, to farther out their potential while Libby is freedom represented. Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello's, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and invisibly bugs by words and word play as with Touchstone and William Yet. Their music is triumph ever, and all Marion represents is a changing subject matter. It has its crude, not relinquishing a readiness below not ending, while Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. But it is rare, and she represents splendor. The recordings that fill our futures are committed to their gardens. Do-de-do. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. The treasures of that is in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton for sure. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton for sure indeed. And that aura represents natural light is correct. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton for sure. And Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello hourly with healing pleasures. As more still her. Yet what Teresa does is to order, and she is out when enjoyment is had for all. And in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. What Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. This, to make it happen while Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And they all importantly dash. No greater Rosalinda represents all testing, and all have felt a sweeter wash as gathers us. So that, in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, while Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius when coming to each other. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton for sure. We have made an arch into that other zone. The angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT outside. And what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger. Noble angel musicians do fill their minutes up with worldly efforts, so tap it out. And that Marilyn represents suspense is correct. A flood of joy. And in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. To piece the melodies together the minutes more have flown, while Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello roundabout. What is had with him? And it is beautiful that how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Carraccio bugged Claudio. The awesomeness in bugging. Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, while Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. Listeners must assemble. And in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and turn with the welcome gate. Listeners missed not that act to fathom thought. And Kelly bugs by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago. Once more these tests for the happiness bring out all. And in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton's days, which back again did spot each self's amaze, because the catcher joy has more than less made in its contest. So how Marga bugs is by a strange presentation as with the voices of Macbeth who said that Macbeth doth murder sleep. So how Bertha represents is in an eye-beam wall. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Her own beautiful start has come out well. 1 minute. Muse. Therefore to set this pose, push a new sublime. And in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Her own. A part to toast. This is it. What Teresa does is to order. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Those who are dear, who again triumphant came to hear. Robbie pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. Their appearance flashes clear. To songs and sounds in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton more. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, while Marga represents talkativeness. Each angel child approves. questing for that shining of sunshine making. All Marion represents is a changing subject matter, its fiery point or ball ending dim. So, as with all, here Donna is all outrageous represented, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. She represents splendor forever round. Rosalinda represents all testing forwards to be done. Angel Diana represents judgment now. What Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, and they are out for friendly show. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. For Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. Much is priced throughout, and how Aurora Tiferet bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and that Aurora Tiferet represents the light within is correct. The angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and she has crossed our lives while Richard bugs by details as with Benedict and Ursula where Benedict was not born under a rhyming planet. It's Valerie who bugs by Chloe in love as with Hermia and Demetrius, and how Bertha represents is in an eye. Meanwhile which comes out of certainty, and topping out, brings almost a magic to the musical composition, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading as Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and she represents splendor. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. So in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton might. Yes, in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton might. Mate there's yours. Sounds so full and wave to their bending. Beats of Cavett represents a crane to pull it together for some more delight. Once more over the green. In bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton and Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. It is heard. Still up again to make it happen as in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Feelings come clean, and think with Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. So Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT and this is outrageous. And whenever Aurora Tiferet bugs, it is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm. It has pushed out, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton onward. Listeners make some hopeful attempts but silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth actively. What kind? The more persuasive certain way. The heavenly silly Billy represents silliness with their own, and Marilyn bugs by moving things around. Penelope represents patience, around as in the case of Hal with Falstaff's grandfather's ring, come to support it. That aura represents natural light is correct, and it is higher with Donna never wrong who bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. It is established as Rosalinda represents all testing, and Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and we can tell that Rosalinda represents all testing while Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. That Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct, and it makes happy us that what Marion does is to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Thus, Marga represents talkativeness, and Chnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello and more, which is required to form a bugging by her, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. Not small, to awesomeness its humble kindness back to Donna never wrong who bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Fleshers most are due, now falling open, it lies ahead, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton while what Teresa does is to order, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. How Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton's role and that top speed bugs by misunderstandings, as in the case with Dogberry and Leonardo is correct. Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, thus Mercy waits less. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. So Grouchy represents all form, and how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall, to please, in each. What Teresa does is to order things for us every day, to hymn out each hymn. Thus our angel music group has come to let a fancy tale fill up the hour. That aura buds through wildness like Puck with the foresters is correct. And Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT for good, and that aura represents natural light is correct. And calm, this Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. Her first act shall carry home for sense and justice, as Libya's freedom represents represented, and the angel Diana represents judgment now. Melodies in many turns from greater stuff come low our pleasures, while Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Lisbeth is helping with all reading for such. In bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. And Lisbeth is helping with all reading, such as to be waving near as wakes us up. As in bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Our sleep is startled by some morning chanticleer. Let out the ideas that in bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. And Angel Thridput represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. The labors of Angel Thridput represent the hopeful colors of MOAT. And for heavenly music Yeats of Cabot represents a crane, on which a kindest care is put. And Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. This now showers. Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Shnoona is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Yes, Shnoona is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello's hues. What Teresa does is to order, be what that may. What Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. So much established by what Teresa does, which is to order us to that stage of the angel hymns tune as Faraday flood of it happens. And here Donna is all outrageous represented, a bigness, what else? So Silly Billy represents a silliness dared. Some are whispering as Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, while Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And some also lore what another does. What Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. It follows, and adds in present calls a new turn for a point to capture more, giving to us. Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and in bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Right, there is another. What Teresa does is to order, a strange approach. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. For a ring, I would too. And Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. It were to coach a helpfulness which pulls it off as in bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, those earth beings. And so in bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. To live it up, Silly Billy represents silliness with more melodies, for in bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton when hearts would come together for much. And grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. And we follow other souls. That aura to Faraday represents the light within is correct. That job for victories of highest, booms, their heavenly raptures to reveal. This Richard represents truth. And for us that Marilyn represents suspense is correct. For a gentler view Libby is freedom represented, and this provides the checker flag as Grouchy represents all form. And Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. We have forgotten some sounds. Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, reminding. In bugging Thridput will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. So much is around, anonymous or not. Cagala represents wisdom. They call to each other where no earthly city sits. They pay their own. And Richard represents truth to stay busy. And Lisbeth is helping with all the reading's own fuss. Their daily airs go out upon the ridge. And now Cagala represents wisdom to newer sights. To spark so that how Marga buds us by a strange presentation as with the voices of Macbeth who said that Macbeth doth murder sleep. And Shay buds by bad colors as Antonio was bugged by Gonzalo about the green grass. Asked to feature a support, and honey represents comfort. This lies within the finest as what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Libby is freedom represented in a legacy around, for newer mirth. To chase the angel songs for endings clear from wrong. Outside the recordings, what else will keep their futures? These given lands? Perhaps no final hither could be better. Angel Shnoona is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, with those sounds. And Angel Rosalinda represents all testing, which shall be to live, to fill the country with it all, while Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon. She had to, as someone inspiring has found that Richard represents truth to go about the gloom. Then help others see how Shnuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello as they are gathered up for room. That pleasant silly Billy represents silliness has not been forgotten by inspiring hearts women and men of nowadays. So grant the greatest since how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall. Her golden minute starts. For honey represents comfort of merriment as willing grouchy butts with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. So everything gets done that can be done. And here Donna is all outrageous represented. It may fit to hold out for more as Valerie butts by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. And from musical instruments for happiness Donna never wrong butts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And the funny Valerie butts by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. A city's open for them. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. The joys of that. And here Donna is all outrageous represented as in living faces with readiness for Lisbeth is helping with all reading because here Donna is all outrageous represented as they will sing and row. And open are our remarks for others as the angel Diana represents judgment now. To dream Shnuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello outwardly. If men would only cease to mock each other's ends but act more of their own. So what Teresa does is to order. The reasonable silly Billy butts by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth. As if heats around. The new ones contact what poems to hear how Rosalinda represents all testing. 2. While Cabala butts by animal bugging as with Crab and Lance. Good clean fun Valerie represents the grooming of appearance and Lisbeth is helping with all reading. A digression unto destination. Still Shnuna is an angel butts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello and she is quite the teacher. And here Donna is all outrageous represented to serve those giving. Woohoo. Now propose. Hush not the sound. Then what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Belt him for the win. The whole show. The urn for the win. Then Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Boom, boom, boom. A home. Boom boom. Peekaboo angel Thrickbit represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. So to answer with silly Billy, who bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth, we'll demand him for the blessing. Good clean fun Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. And it is in the future too while Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. The musical instrument picks up a musical way. A flood of gorgeousness is made and how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Baraccio bug Claudio. A restless creation. The top speed represents an I-beam. The glorious grouchy represents all form and its boundless value. Change back again and help out the subject matter while pleasant Lisbeth is helping with all reading. And how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Baraccio bug Claudio. This is the stuff for a growing future that what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Some message to gossip about. Top speed bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dotberry and Leonardo. And Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. Listeners beautiful, beyond us, earthy listeners, see how in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Fishing out for memories. Shnuna represents weight and heaviness and Richard represents truth. The branches change. Composed. For how Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero. The songs. Maybe in these months. A Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. He thinks it is not to pass up. So what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. It's alright to see how silly Billy represents silliness. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. For each sweetie whose own happy pleasures need help. Will our voyages grant a glimpse to know how Larva bugs is by a strange presentation as with the voices of Macbeth who said that Macbeth doth murder sleep and to know that what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were, bugged by the lateness of the dawn, as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. If only we could realize how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, we could hold those good sounds now by rephrasing them for any coming celebration. Challenges test our love. Our fill of fun happens, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. Teamwork masks the matter. Professional musical reflections seen over human places and over grasses where the hills are home. A river of all flows, and Mary Marion represents as a changing subject matter, and the angel Thritbit represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, as grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, and it passes its way that Valerie bugs by Chloe in love as with Hermia and Demetrius above. After a while that shiny freedom occurs as Libby is freedom represented, and this gives out to the street. What this morning makes holds in rest as Shnuna as an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and this intimates more that Marilyn represents suspense, which is correct. Coming back to Valerie, who represents the grooming of appearance, so it seems to speak of the melodies which are here, and Donna is all outrageous represented. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Donna is all outrageous represented beneath the sun, while heavenly silly Billy represents silliness, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. We look for an understanding that in bugging Thritbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and it is not hard to be inspired to fiddle with what Teresa does, as she is to order, coming before to hell, with gorgeous harmony as Rosalinda represents all testing. Oh, anchor us to that, since Rosalinda represents all testing, whose almost permanent reign in this boundless wilderness does not bungle anything up. Now a heavenly time shall see how Bertha represents us in an I-beam wall, and Kelly represents numbers and experimentation, and Robbie caught butts by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. A society or solitude helps at sunset. Traveler's country, on an empty stretch, distant seasons and plain rhythms, companion stuff of a what Teresa does is to orders complexities. A Valerie bugs by Chloe in love is with Hermia and Demetrius with that grouchy represents all foreign sounds. A taller country for that Beneg with the bugs by strangeness like the ghost with Horatio, and Rosalinda bugs by having no end to bugging like Ophelia was bugged by Hamlet. A public studies their songs, the musical development. Look, Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and look how Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero. We grant their own orders to learn, which droop our distant goals towards the present. Something was done once with that, while Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth with energy. There are those in the understanding to learn that Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and we are watching this giant brood, listening to the angel Thritbit, who represents the hopeful colors of MOATs, and how Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero outside, during the musical development's beginning, which happens to be an unknown for now. Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and she is being heard. Then how Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero take the Valerie bugs by Chloe in love is with Hermia and Demetrius, while silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping is with the forest coming up to Macbeth as well. It is that Donna is all outrageous represented, and ourselves shall grant a given over. It is Grouchy who represents all form to any bustle, the old bustle of here, while Donna is all outrageous represented. She is to make it, and anything can happen with bugging. How Ora to ferret at bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, while Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Anything becomes a bugging, and how Ora to ferret at bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Next, Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. For the how Ora to ferret at bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and how Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero. We were once the sum of our distant bugging, but Jaffa represents niceness. So how Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero, and now Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Since here Donna is all outrageous represented, she came. Our Jaffa represents niceness at all times, and Grouchy represents all form, and at times a new beginning, under which MOAL thrives, and silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping is with the forest coming up to Macbeth. and the celestial Tok Tok Shalom represents the world's flow. This here Donna is all outrageous represented. It all exists as a spectacle, not an ending freeze. Consider and absorb its beautiful aside. A matter for Richard who represents truth, with the facts to hasten, to be first of purpose to the point of the health of some wonderful discovery, and closer to the middle of knowing that that fantastic Maryland who represents suspense is correct. It will proceed with its own happening that what Marion does to Bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and it is magical how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall going up. To solve how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall, its patient happening is to be functional, though slow, but not with the narrowing of a tune. Behold the beginning of no hesitation yet for the wistful grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and we are left for change while the transition to be remembered is for its respected presence. We are grateful to discover the distant melodies, newly convincing as this hurry to be healthy is difficult to hush. But, now listen to the details from some angel. What Marion does to Bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. That noble sensibility is seen, while how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. We do not want to fling that away. Soon for an inspiring while, with a little extra pull, an attractive warmth shall take responsibility, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and it shall welcome the consequences of her great claim. First Silly Billy represents silliness, to behold that with deliciousness, by our own listening's distractions, rough and brave, the peaceful talk buts by misunderstandings is the case with Barry and Leonardo, while Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and it is rising still, a pretty sight for which something had wished, as a long peacefulness is either to come in summers or winters or it shall hold its form. Richard represents truth, and Tok Tok Shalom buds by influences Hal was bugged by Falstaff in the role playing they did, and grouchy buds with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, ever going out for pleasant rewards, for better sounds, with the angel music group is to win, and the sublime rumors form as remembered as Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and Rosalinda represents all testing, and we do well to reflect that the always many are given throughout to administer this delightful view, and another is that Richard represents truth, and this shall grant its day while Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and with more. Talk buds by misunderstandings is the case with Barry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. Hold not still, Rosalinda represents all testing. In the middle of this beautiful event, how Elaine buds us by neighbors as Carraccio bug Claudio, for there is always more outside to relent out of the rough. So Talk represents an I-beam, let more come down. We roll around with this event as Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and with again a little for more. Thus how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction grand, ever a spectacle, for which Rosalinda represents all testing. Musicians might have angel ideas as what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. There is much which ought to be, much which ought to be granted. To grant this, Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, which has put itself to the outside around us as it must there be, too. Outside everywhere Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth to grant a patience? Who would invent any sort of perfect one? Rosalinda represents all testing, while Thritput represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, for us all. So Shnuna represents weight and heaviness, above us. Shnuna is an angel buds who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. In windy tenderness Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. It's a bugging Teresa does which is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and it must be the result of having once worked otherwise. And what Teresa does is to order is ethical. On the open road, what Teresa does is to order, and this may be loud sometimes when MOAL is in its prime as Valerie represents the grooming of appearance too, striking many positions over the passing of time. Richard represents truth. A Yaffa bugs by Ardas in the case of Ariel and the feast to Stefano and others in the Tempest. This is calling. So there is a wait for Yaffa, at times, who bugs by Ardas in the case of Ariel and the feast to Stefano and others in the Tempest. And as of now Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. For Penelope represents patience. These are the events which are inspiring. There is an understanding that how Ora Tiferet bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm. Being that Richard represents truth. This contact ripens. Good sounds ring out of the now. To catch up, Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald, and this is preferred by him, to be on the rise, towards our angelic recordings for certain, with the bugging. Teresa does so by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and Grouchy represents all form, even of hell. To keep so bugging Thrickbot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. For in the bugging Thrickbot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton as Silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth. In the bugging Thrickbot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and that Marilyn represents suspense is correct. Such heights come to be revealed. There's needs attending, and in the bugging Thrickbot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton as Libby herself is freedom represented. A special lift of a mighty smile happens. How the heroic beautiful Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Caraccio bug Claudio. The gain is in bugging as Thrickbot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. And the Rosalinda represents all testing while Thrickbot represents the hopeful colors of MOAT above and below. The gathering approach of the support is made of heavenly playing. It might be a sweet success. How Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero. And so Richard represents truth. Less green we are, but hopeful. We start a change. A whole field to heavenly ascend. And how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall. To heavenly heights we rise. And how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall. To heavenly heights. How Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall. With Penelope, she represents patience. And with Donna, she never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. So with these angels, how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and Silly Billy represents the silliness of them in our lives. Of anything on the voyage, one Valerie bugs by cloying love is with Hermia and Demetrius, where Donna is all outrageous represented, which stops or goes on forever, and Ariel represents charity, it is for far desires, for honesty and more, and how Martha bugs is by a strange presentation as with the voices of Macbeth who said that Macbeth doth murder sleep too. The angelic Amy bugs by extra work like Caliban by Prospero here as Donna is all outrageous represented, and we transcend the whole, and that aura represents natural light is correct. So it is to please. Libby is freedom represented, to sing out, and great Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and more it seems to go beyond, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Libby is freedom represented, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. It once had been and still is that Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. We shall grant that Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and again to own another splendid collection even since what went off. The space that was yesterday had fallen away, yet had not these new adventures begun to claim themselves in the music might grant much. Okay, when? Maybe not later. From out of this, Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Yes, so Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, which must be done. It is great to understand how by bugging Thrickbot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. To wander about, we go as if each is in a fantasy. We contact others, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction while how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall. And in order with the contact of this, A granted romance in its playing, and Valerie bugs by cloying love is with Hermia and Demetrius, and Donna is all outrageous represented. What Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Angel Marga represents talkativeness, which is brought up, and Chnuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. This is still for sure. Still difficult to make complete understanding that Donna is all outrageous represented, but it is not to be caught by Chnuna who, as an angel, buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. We take them on, and the angel Thrickbut represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. We take the transparency as very serious, outrageousness from what society offers, waiting just to hear shockingly oh ever for this atmospheric breath, and in bugging Thrickbut will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. She will stop when she wishes, and environmental musical instruments below our songs. And what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, and they dart into responsible worlds and withstand this beautiful morning which freeze. Oh him the dawn, and in bugging Thrickbut will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and so she represents splendor. Opinionated now we hold a musical riff as Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and top, the west to Donna, she never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. We are wandering, the goals of our thought from change is caught, their melodies, their sparks are perfect there, and with intelligence the goals are granted as Kelly buts by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago. We are sensitive to those melodies, and Valerie buts by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. A word of playing is clear, and Chnuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello once before. It has cleared and came to many minds with more that critically angel Thrickbut represents the hopeful colors of MOAT of sense, and how Elaine buts is by neighbors as Baraccio but Claudio. From our friendship, it faster breaks upon to bless seeing that what Marion does to bud is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer buds by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra while Martha represents talkativeness and for ladies, men and children, a success, and here Donna is all outrageous represented, and she makes dear her shade of newness, and so in the Ariel buds by bad dreams as with Calpurnia and Julius Caesar and Clarence's, as pleasures are on this study. What Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn as Jennifer buds by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, by their once melodic frame, and grouchy buds with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning, as Jennifer buds by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra and its better aim. We are to wait, but Chnuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and out throughout some part our wait is like a favor to others, to remain. Here Donna is all outrageous represented, and she ascends and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning as Jennifer buds by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra on top to train, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and so shall we see how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall as Valerie buds by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius, but she not retire yet. To others how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction. Things are seen, and all watch Richard, who represents truth, which is worth not going off profound. Then there is Thrickbut, who will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, while what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, a golden reaching out, and how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Baraccio bug Claudio, and Chnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, like us now, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and we attend such to see what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and let Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and we listen for some advice, and see what Teresa does as to order, out of our public hell, and who could say if this is? And how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall, and Chnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello with delight. Here Donna is all outrageous represented, and she will roar on just as the sides with patience for the hope, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Martha represents talkativeness, which still sounds good on our sunny windy ride, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. The morning's moods continue, and heavenly silly Billy represents silliness, they convey, and in bugging Thrickbut will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and her own thoughts demand to crave this from us. and what Teresa does is to order. Now while Bertha represents as in an I being all of this, peaceful Lisbeth is helping with all reading, wherein bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Yes, in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. The fate with those environments shall slide off far, for none would want them dimmer than ever, and what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, more than our reasonableness prepares. That how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, so we would want them not, whereas that aura represents natural light is correct, but not in vain is she, for Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth in this room and outside with the others and all, and grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton as far more joyful hearts unite. There are coming futures, so many to behold, reveal their hopes we shall, as I would so be told, and that aura represents natural light is correct with its shine, and grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. More, Tokschweg represents an I beam to hearts, Kabbalah represents wisdom, for other hearts and healing to let us go on, Livy bugs by making others wait like Lady Macbeth had to, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and its own gifts, and grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and Sunny Tokschweg represents an I beam, and if with MOAL Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. How shall we employ our time? They grant more as grouchy represents all form come to spread, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. The goings out profound, we see how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Carraggio bugged Claudio, and Angel Thrickbit represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. Can any rise up like the Angel Thrickbit who represents the hopeful colors of MOAT entirely? It is Libby who is freedom represented, and Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. These winds surround. Today our order pairs us with them where what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Martha represents talkativeness, or Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. So Anita's here as Donna is all outrageous represented by care. There is within more fancy to repair, by which I mean to know that Thrickbit represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and as Angel Thrickbit represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, whose tenderness is perfect. It is wonderful, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, where from within, Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. She holds her graceful reign, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Richard bugs by details as with Benedict and Ursula where Benedict was not born under a rhyming planet, and his bugging comes from love, and Silly Billy represents silliness as the wider angel, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello is happening. Melody is esteemed, and Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. We shall wonder to see how each angel, musician contacts, order rests, the road stops, and Tokschweg bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and so Valerie represents the grooming of appearance and returns. Harmonies break up. How Aura to Feria bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm which rises. The celebration spreads. They must be revealed right now of MOAL which has parts in a meaningfulness to spread out its glory. And Lisbeth is helping with all reading. The angel Thrickbit who represents the hopeful colors of MOAT develops, as usual, to get better, and a new trust pours onward. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And what Angel Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And here Donna is all outrageous represented and claims her own, and what Teresa does is to order much through the sponsorship, Therefore grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and they reflect upon our descent forward, and Nietzsche Cavid represents a crane, and Libby is freedom represented. The legacy of what Marion does is to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and so Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra in the valley, and as Marion does to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Marga represents talkativeness, and this has almost everything to do with not turning away. Those silly Billy bugs with by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth shall fit together to lengthen out in the landscape, and it is the angel Diana who represents judgment now. Above Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald, and he moves between us, the lights scatter through that space, and every motif is brought out from them, and in bugging Thrickbut will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and what Teresa does is to order. What Marion does to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, which spirits must maintain, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Top Speed represents an I-beam. Out of its sponsorship comes, I Trust, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and Donna is all outrageous represented, while Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Angel Thrickbut represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, while Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. That's heavenly, one faithful to our lives. This angel, Thrickbut, represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and this Lisbeth is helping with all reading, in languages of the world. Angel Diana represents judgment now, while Libby bugs by making others wait like Lady Macbeth had to, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and it is important for our trust as much as boundless, for Rosalinda, who bugs by having no end to bugging like Ophelia was bugged by Hamlet, Benavuca bugs by strangeness like the ghost with Horatio, and how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall, to read, to welcome use, enough. It is to see that Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct, while Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and Angel Thrickbut represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. It is wise to keep on going, and the bugging Teresa does is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and those welcome subjects, handing on to trust, and the imaginations of the beautiful, and how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Carraccio bugged Claudio, and Angel Diana represents judgment now, and what Teresa does is to order this Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and, yes, Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and how Bertha represents us in an I-beam wall, and what Marion does to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Silly Billy represents silliness into its deep, and what Teresa does is to order, and Topshby bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and Silly Billy represents silliness, and Libby is freedom represented again, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, the Rosalinda represents all testing, and Libby is freedom represented, and that Libby is freedom represented, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Marion does to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, happiness, and Libby is freedom represented, and it is better than ever, and Libby is freedom represented, and what Marion does to Bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and collections of melodies are welcome to us, and bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Pleasant Shea bugs by bad colors as Antonio was bugged by Gonzalo about the green grass, and how was Schnuna as an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, by the sweetest means. What Teresa does is to order indeed. The angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of Moat. What Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Grouchy represents all form. Yeats of Cavett represents a crane, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. For young and old, Jennifer represents mystery. Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Living in this, Libby is freedom represented, and angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of Moat, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. Imagination's mysteries fill them near, and Donna is all outrageous represented, better made. Quietness comes down on moss, and Libby is freedom represented on earth, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Teresa does is to order as what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, and that aura represents natural light is correct, and now to live behind the wonders, Richard represents truth, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, imagine dwelling so, it is a bugging that Teresa does is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, and Topspeed bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading, coming down, Yeats of Cavett represents a crane, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Libby is freedom represented, and in song, important futures are granted, and Libby is freedom represented, but something's not over, open now to all, Angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of Moat, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and Rosalinda represents all testing, and what Teresa does is to order again through windy space as mystically as Topspeed who bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and how Aura to Faraday bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, it's much for much, Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Rosalinda represents all testing, she is coming to but most of all Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and this is for all, and the angel Diana represents judgment now, not sitting out, consider what is heard, in living verse, in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, their languages are best, and Topspeed represents an I-beam, in knowing what to figure out, Richard represents truth, still questing for else, what Teresa does is to order humanity, and it is Lisbeth who is helping with all reading in our hands, on the whole Penelope bugs by exile as in the case of Rosalind's and others like Cordelia's, at heights supreme, giving, Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and so Angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of Moat, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, to wander through the lights where we are, how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and Richard represents truth, even to be outdoors in wind seen with sadness coming off, yes, Richard represents truth with gifts of happiness, The angel triplet represents the hopeful colors of Noat. A loveliness is not diminishing, and Libby is freedom represented, and how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall, and verse hereafter, and Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and those with futures before them, not just in the future. What Teresa does is to order, and Topsh be buts by misunderstandings is the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, while Penelope represents patience, and it is good that Penelope represents patience, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and a bit of what Teresa does is to order, while what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Martha represents talkativeness, and how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall with powerful delights, and noble Lisbeth is helping with all reading, while silly Billy represents silliness, its lovely mound. It seems superfluous to be not for Donna who, never wrong, bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and some miss a morning's friendly flow again, which angel musicians with a delight for space enjoy, and it is beautiful that how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Carraccio bugged Claudio, and Schnuna as an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and so Richard represents truth, therefore how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and it is the case that Penelope represents patience, seeing what is seen, while Lisbeth is helping with all reading as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. It is that Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and in bugging triplet will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. To all, the surprise will happen, and Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and angel triplet represents the hopeful colors of Noat, and gracefully grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and what Teresa does is to order. It's inspiring to figure out that Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. The sweet surprise happens, and it is the case that normal Penelope represents patience, and in bugging triplet will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and the bugging Teresa does is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth. The sunlight seems right this flat morning, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction while what Teresa does is to order, and the what Teresa does is to order, and Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, as it flows in and flows out better since Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. She commands itself again to open over a surprising time, and what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, yonder with sublime playfulness. Innocent fellows too are bugged by her, Donna, who never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, while differently in bugging triplet will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton than before, as many delight in their confidence. Timelessly wandering this Penelope bugs by exile as in the case of Rosalind's and others, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. We are ready to make contact. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Martha represents talkativeness. So Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and it is Shay who bugs by bad colors as Antonio was bugged by Gonzalo about the green grass, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and silly Billy represents silliness, and Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello by playing up the bugging which are well made. Even in this, Richard represents truth, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and how Aurora Tiferet bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, being sublime and strange. Honey represents the comfort which is wanting to be activated farther out than ever. It is a matter of well-being when Benebuga represents the scholarship which is possible still, as grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict who must be, from the whimsical possible. Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and normal simplicity, and how Aurora Tiferet bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm. Something must happen, and Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And welcome is the understanding that Shay bugs by bad colors as Antonio was bugged by Gonzalo about the green grass. It's hidden surprise. And in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. This is predicted and wished for by her. And so now in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. And what Teresa does is to order the mighty pull it off. Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. They all apply their bugging like Teresa who does so by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth. Understanding that, it is Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And the answers are upon an angel music group too. To be grateful to live still and declare the value of the bugging. Top speed represents an I, being, and they all quest for the inspiring, to solve the problems of raising charity money by the means of their bugging, these angels. And so Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And yes, that Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello can be done. Paddling through time, Richard represents truth, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Tossing the moment, Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. Nearby it is something clean, and Kelly bugs by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago, and Libby is freedom represented, and this is a reward. Yes, Libby is freedom represented. Outrageousness can better what happens now since Libby is freedom represented. Once will, what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness. And naturally angel Diana represents judgment now which has come. And Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And it is Richard who represents truth again to return by the playing of it as Donna is all outrageous represented. And how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction. And they are not fool. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Jennifer represents mystery. The angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, with the justice which makes Schnuna happy, who is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And Top Speed represents an I being. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Carraccio bugged Claudio. And what angel Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. In a heap of a musical development, with these good sounds going out, it brings no difficulty to angel Thrickwood who represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. And Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Yes, Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Libby is freedom represented. And Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. It must be done to begin once more on a new quest. And Thrickwood the grooming of appearance, and what Teresa does is to order, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and there's the Dominion outside with the cedar, and how Perrac bugs is in mystery with the suspended understanding as with Miranda and Prospero. Eureka yet, we see more from them, as Donna is all outrageous represented, and Tokshvi bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. For sure. And Lisbeth is helping with all reading in the cosmos, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Libby is freedom represented. For support, how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall in the sunlight. And Lisbeth is helping with all readings freshness from out some grey void, to keep upon the floor where these bold musical themes lie, which are still dominant. How Elaine represents as by constructing and construction. It shall be that Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. So frequently sure, Schnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. and Silly Billy represents silliness, and Shmuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, to roam peaceful again over the cards. Libby is freedom represented, surprised by this something. Shmuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and grouchy represents all form, and top speed represents an I-beam. Time's frequency is short, and Shmuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. That is hard to answer, and Shmuna is an angel buts who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Libby is freedom represented, and that aura represents natural light is correct, and what Teresa does is to order, and Libby is freedom represented, and grouchy buds with music is with Balthazar with Benedict, and how Elaine buds is by neighbors as Carraggio bud Claudio, and Robbie Cock represents prediction, and Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and grouchy buds with music is with Balthazar with Benedict, and Honey buds by doubt as Othello had doubts because of Iago, and Benedicta represents scholarship, and Kathleen buds by money as Falstaff was by King Henry V, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and Kathleen represents devotedness and devotion, and how Teresa buds is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction. They are going off to sing, to mend mistakes, an instant, and how Aurora to Faraday buds is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Donna is all outrageous represented. It is a heading of an order. The grand inventions are here, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and the greatness of those country ways is here, and that Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct. So Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and grouchy buds with music is with Balthazar with Benedict, and Shmuna is an angel buds who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Kathleen represents devotedness and devotion, and Teresa buds by way of divine communication is with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth. On her carefree journey, Rosalinda represents all testing. Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Over the hills and country ways, beyond the playing, Silly Billy represents silliness, and newness. Its hymn is lit, and it dwells upon the margins of the place, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and Shmuna is an angel buds who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and how Aurora to Faraday buds is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading in the cosmos which brings us out of the great void. Today extracting summer thoughts, we revealed that Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and eats of Cavett buds by Mephistopheles, like bugging as with the ghost of Hamlet who wanted Hamlet to swear, and Libby is freedom represented, and how Elaine represents is by constructing and construction, and Valerie buds by Chloe and love is with Hermia and Demetrius, and grouchy buds with music is with Balthazar with Benedict, and all reflect the air's heights, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. We must be frequently sure about Shmuna who is an angel buds who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and how Perak buds is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero must go on, and to wonder, what Teresa does is to order over shielded earths, and waiting, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Lisbeth buds by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, and Kelly represents numbers and experimentation, and Ariel represents charity, and Cavilla represents wisdom's own tidings where playfulness is possible for care, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading is at hand, and how Elaine buds is by neighbors as Carraggio bud Claudio, and Kelly buds by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago, a wishing of what Teresa does. which is to order, and dear Ariel represents charity, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. The wheel is to rise at morn with the earliest peak for eternal kindness, and the compass for a what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Marga represents a talkativeness heaping up and down. The angel Marion bugs through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and they are home within a wealthy weather as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. In density, Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. So everything's something, and Topshby bugs by misunderstandings is the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. The last give of its looseness ever is to sway, the curious music. Its figure gives Benego the chance to represent scholarship, and Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. She rolls through space as stimulation, and Silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth, and Silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness and drift, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Our own border, what those musical themes reveal, in the bugging, that Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. Smiles are a sunshine, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Its rising rises from an effort, and Richard bugs by details as with Benedict and Ursula, where Benedict was not born under a rhyming planet to come, and Marilyn represents suspense is correct, and Yitzhak Cavett represents a crane to calm others as a sunlight opens, beginning like a child, rove onwards, while Rosalinda represents all testing, and Jaffa bugs by art as in the case of Ariel and the feast to Stefano and others in the tempest afterwards, and the in-bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton to bring virtue forth on fortunate fields. Each field's readings, what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, and Ariel represents charity, and in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, a musical tree, and Libby is freedom represented. She works through our thoughts, in this beautiful wilderness, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and this is done for a merriment tomorrow, and what Teresa does is to order, and Silly Billy represents silliness us, and Libby is freedom represented, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, which is not over in its final filament, and Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, it is to be on stage with a sweetness release. Here Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and so Angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. How does it Angel? It is a mystery as what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Imagine wandering outside seeking to see that what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, and grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, now on the earth, and how Perak bugs is in mystery, a suspended understanding as with Miranda and Prospero over the rocks which size up the place in its midst, and Libby is freedom represented, who works through our thoughts. So sunny is this beautiful wilderness, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius whose features are now in sight, the wilderness lively, and enjoyment supreme is claiming for more, and how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall, and the angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Teresa does is to order for what is grand by a musical composition, and Silly Billy represents silliness, and Libby is freedom represented, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. in its final filament, and this brings the angel Thrikpa to represent the hopeful colors of MOAT with all to the stage with the sweetness release. The angel music group is to rise with Thrikpa who represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and this spins for Takshdi who buts by misunderstandings is the case with Barry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance while Yitsa Kavit represents a crane, and angel Thrikpa represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, which is desired by children and adults both, which makes it better, and Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Donna never wrong buts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth as such, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. This comes for us with wholesomeness as Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and this is furnished with a great signifying that Livy is freedom represented, and Rosalinda represents all testing, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. All of us are meant to be unfrozen again. Sound out angels, and in bugging Thrikpa will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. This jingle sing, those talk of wonders who practice them, and silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth. Beautiful are the angels in bugging, like when Thrikpa will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. In their sweetness they come, and what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, and that Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct. Their 100-point potential is as proud as ours and us, from a beautiful playing, with some great times ahead as Yitsa Kavit represents a crane to be, and now, and Richard represents truth, and in the designing, a musical instrument lifts up, and Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. A dream comes between us. The task is for Rosalinda to bug by having no end to bugging like Ophelia was bugged by Hamlet, and how Bertha represents as in an I-beam wall. Are these not to fathom or say, why not? Patient for things they are, and that aura represents natural light is correct, and so for hell. Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello as she worked out being ever awesome as Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and again seeing an artful event that aura represents natural light is correct, and here Donna is all outrageous represented, let be this great open wide. Kabbalah represents wisdom, check, and Rosalinda represents all testing, and Ariel represents charity. Stand up Eros to know how Elaine bugs is by neighbors as Caraccio bug Claudio, understand their bees, and here Donna is all outrageous represented, and she is open, exquisite, that is, those far out rose in success, wherefore, that forever Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct, it's lore, and so Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and she cares to collect each good action up for us, and how Elaine bugs us by neighbors as Caraccio bug Claudio. Many supply and extend an ear to learn that what Teresa does is to order, and for a reason. Our Yaffa represents niceness, about a hopeful musical development. Going further, time doth pour back, much is taken with the graph, and how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall, and what Marion does is to bug us through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness in our pleasant time, and Richard represents truth hurled outward, and in bugging Thrikpa will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and we are reconciled to learn that what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and this is what's wished by her, the give, back's taken back, and in bugging Thrikpa will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and she shall lose no catch to start the listening off, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and so a charitable mission is taught, ageless for its awesomeness, to oblige us the songs of a happiness well. One more turn is to see that what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Kelly bugs by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness sickness of the morning, and Jennifer Butts by excitement is with Antony and Cleopatra with the right step which was worked for those billions. Yeah. Full half the angel Thrickwood represented the hopeful colors of NOAT, since she had begun prettily, and angel Diana represents judgment now, and Valerie Butts by Chloe in love is with Hermia and Demetrius, and active silly Billy represents silliness with the pattern bugging as Teresa does, which is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth. And grouchy Butts with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer Butts by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents Talcadavines as the miracle is paid over dust and saw, and Donna never wrong Butts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Benevuca represents scholarship now, and Donna is all outrageous represented. The earthly something has been done. Look how. Let the stillness inform. And in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton as of a charge. A mission for top speed is to bug by misunderstandings as in the case with Doc Barry and Leonardo. And Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. For its mark she unites. And Donna never wrong Butts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. Our business is right and our purpose, large. And here Donna is all outrageous represented, and Richard represents truth, and Penelope represents patience. Now they go onward to contact what their songs point out, and so in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. This is not to doubt, these are treats to our age which, somehow, ships out as impossibly Butts by words and wordplay as with Touchstone and William for our fate for our future is great. And Donna never wrong Butts by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. It is an age to see that what Teresa does is to order, yes, for the beautiful events, and how Elaine Butts is by neighbors as Carraggio Bud Claudio, and how Bertha represents us in an I-beam wall for our trust and love, and Lisbeth Butts by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, and here Donna is all outrageous represented, and she shall reconcile our joy to fit with them, and Richard represents truth or any good thought of such, and Rosalinda represents all testing, and what Ariel represents is charity, and what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer Butts by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, a crawling outward and up, and Kelly Butts by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago this inspiring day, and what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer Butts by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, strength station of the beautiful, and how Elaine Butts is by neighbors as Carraggio Bud Claudio, and Grouchy represents all form, and Topspeed Butts by misunderstandings as the case with Doc Barry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance crown, and Kelly represents numbers and experimentation, and, wished for, a bugging Teresa does is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and now and yet to be Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and Richard represents truth, and here Donna is all outrageous represented, and what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer Butts by excitement is with Antony and Cleopatra, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and what Teresa does is to order, we evermore owe scholarship our mission, and how Elaine Butts is by neighbors as Carraggio Bud Claudio, then back the ado which finds the purpose that Robbie Pop represents prediction and this is correct 3. Libby is freedom represented in this music to find, and in its playing must breathe, for a song celestial, and how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall, and what Teresa does is to order things into parts, and it is Topspeed who represents an I-beam, and Benevo the Butts by strangeness like the ghost with Horatio, the coming sunny everywhere shall be, and what Marian does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn as Jennifer Butts by excitement is with Antony and Cleopatra, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading and definitions which span, and that Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct. So listeners, to angelic heights and to triumphs go, call in the sounds of the angel hymn, radiate that, and that Marilyn represents suspense is correct, and Libby is freedom represented, and this flaps back to Angel Thrickwood who represents the hopeful colors of NOAT. What Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, and Topspeed represents an I-beam, and how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall, and Ariel represents charity, These angels' children develop, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Cagala represents wisdom, and still Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, and versed angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of Noat, and Libby is freedom represented, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and what Teresa does is to order, and Kelly bugs by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict which beams onward, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. Listeners bear now those feelings for the sounds of a synthesizer, and that aura represents natural light is correct, and from the times ago, and now, what Teresa does is to order even in the musical composition zone, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and Talk Speed represents an I-beam, and Libby is freedom represented, and it is Honey who represents comfort. Men and women bow their heads for now, for it is sweet to know that in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, and Talk Speed represents an I-beam, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, where playfulness reigns. The angel Diana represents judgment now which lasts, and Benevud represents scholarship which shall not be shut off, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading onward flow. Whatever the old say to each and every other one is that music can help them lift their own heart's beat. Poetical years toss out another glory for us to come. What Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and gentle thought carries us past our laments to branch up higher to blossom with weeds of Cather, who represents a crane, and what celestial Talk Shalom represents the world's glow. Then comes Talk Speed who represents an I-beam music, and in those fruits what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness just as she ought. Pieces of a musical composition play, and how Parap bugs is in mystery, a suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero, and Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton and others. Something beautiful again happens as Richard represents truth catching us daily, which conquers the time, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. She makes no fuss, and its treasure is greatly honored as Moal is too, and Silly Billy represents silliness, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth in the long morning throughout the wide play, and Heavenly Silly Billy represents silliness. Before the cold begins Moal will go outward, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading lately to rise, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth in the morning, and this is treasured as Shea bugs by bad colors as Antonio was bugged by Gonzalo about the green grass. The neighborhood is together, and Talk Speed represents an I-beam in its lip, and Angel Thrickwood represents the hopeful colors of Moat who wisely breaks out with Heavenly Silly Billy who represents silliness as Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, as she honorably mirrors our growing humbleness for natural sounds which dearly bring us to Ariel who bugs by bad dreams as with Calpurnia and Julius Caesar and Clarence's, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius above, and Talk Speed bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dotberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and inspiring playfulness from our angel musicians a peaceful turn for new hours occurs, and so Talk Speed bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dotberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and from the song's faster breaks its good word freely dancing in takes over the earth, our own home, and Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and this delights us again, and Richard bugs by details as with Benedict and Ursula where Benedict was not born under a rhyming planet, and he triumphantly tells us of our times to remember, but how and when? Of our years to recollect, of the months which pass our peaceful nights. And Valerie buds by cloying love is with Hermia and Demetrius in a calming dark. The sunlit beams descending still will mark miraculously, and Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And to the frontier Libya's freedom represented, the fate which happens coming back for more. And Cavilla bugs by animal bugging is with crab and lance. And Richard represents truth majestically, for Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth as Libya's freedom represented, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. And we shall watch the golden angel Thritwood represent the hopeful colors of Moat and hell. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. And yes, in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, but Kelly bugs by flattering as in the case of Desdemona by Iago, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and Tokschbeek represents an eye, beam and is wise to the rest, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and she represents splendor as peaceful ever, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Green bows down over rocks and rocks, and the angel Thritwood represents the hopeful colors of Moatn. At last, off is set, and grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and beyond each lovely home the songs were hurled. Ma Rosalinda represents all testing, and her sights and sounds have saved ours, and Richard represents truth, and Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and what Teresa does is to order, each self touches upon this, that Ariel represents charity, and Valerie bugs by cloying love is with Hermia and Demetrius, and still Rosalinda represents all testing, and Thritwood represents the hopeful colors of Moat. There is a mark of pride, and Tokschbeek bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dotberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and in Visively represents trust. It is the case that Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to, once in, once out of time's own throne. In that threshold Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Teresa does is to order, with the songs of the angel children we attend, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and amuse or invisibly represents trust as she represents splendor come upon the beautiful, and how Elaine bugs us by neighbors as Carraccio bug Claudio, some by and by appear, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. We remember yet that tale that how Bertha represents us in an I-beam wall, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and it is right that those angel songs seem fit, and silly Billy bugs by bad landscaping as with the forest coming up to Macbeth, and how Elaine bugs us by neighbors as Carraccio bug Claudio, even when there's no pleasant throng around, and in bugging Thritwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. This blessing is fresh outside, night rises over a beautiful world, and how Elaine bugs us by neighbors as Carraccio bug Claudio. It is Lisbeth who is helping with all reading for sure. It is yes Lisbeth who is helping with all reading then. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And we grant a music for their hearts. Yes, Lisbeth is helping with all reading. Eternal laurels come for Lisbeth who bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. And Grouchy represents all form. So ever and on and better a tale goes beyond us that Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and that Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct, and she represents splendor, and invisibly bugs by words and wordplay as with Touchstone and William, and it is beautiful, it has encompassed what was more, for times of understanding, Benevuva represents scholarship, and Libya's freedom represented, and Eats of Cavad represents a crane, and now the angel Thritwood represents the hopeful colors of Moat which are full of eye, and what Teresa does is to order, and the angel children play music, and what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger, and Benevuva represents scholarship, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading in which there are gifts with Moal, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and we still follow our own interests. our reason is for solidarity. And Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And how Elaine Bugs is by neighbors as Carraccio bugged Claudio. And that Robbie Pop represents prediction is correct to us. And Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Lisbeth is helping with all reading. And how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction with peer while Donna is all outrageous represented. And Todd Schwie Bugs by misunderstandings is the case with Dogberry and Leonardo. And Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. At times even of its moments as usual. And Schnuna is an angel Bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And it is beautiful that Aura represents natural light. And this is correct. Necessary. Robbie Pop Bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald. And we are to be held up in the celebrations of the futures and nights while calm has to come now for us. Healthy Lisbeth Bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. And they play permanently. They are players. What Bertha does to Bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger. And they're not so odd. And Grouchy Bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict of the play. And Angel Thrickfoot represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, of the stars, of God, there. And Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth as she does outdoors out there. And Lisbeth Bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. Far up. And that Aura represents natural light is correct. And Schnuna is an angel Bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And here Donna is all outrageous represented. Yes, here Donna is all outrageous represented. And Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And from out the quiet comes Todd Schwie who Bugs by misunderstandings as the case with Dogberry and Leonardo. And Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. And here Donna is all outrageous represented. And that Aura represents natural light is correct. And Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And so its meaning has a chance. Yet Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. And what MOAL has created exists. So that Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And that Aura represents natural light is correct. And what Teresa does is to order, where many do not overlook. Yes, what Teresa does is to order. It is inspiring. Todd Schwie represents an eye-beam, an imagination. 'Tis yet remembered as a generation. And in bugging Thrickfoot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Whoever, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. And Martha represents talkativeness. And how Perak bugs is in mystery. A suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero. And in bugging Thrickfoot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. And here that Rosalinda represents all testing. And Thrickfoot represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. Her melodies also bring music. And Donna never wrong Bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And Schnuna is an angel Bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. She is out never ending. And Richard represents truth. And its mission. But Libby is freedom represented. Oh, keep a while to know that Libby is freedom represented. And so would be more. Behold this care of music from Grouchy who represents all form. Now Richard represents truth. And it is inspiring. What Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger. Times enriches. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. And Martha represents talkativeness and is very robust. And that Aura represents natural light is correct. The ever-a bugging Teresa bugs by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth. Ever now she can do this. And Libby is freedom represented in the brightness constructing a tale to sing. As much as ever. Grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict. And she only has to go out to start again. And in bugging Thrickfoot will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. And her songs are revealed. Their shades extend long. But Angel Thrickfoot also represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. And this is hidden by sunless musical themes where the sunlight once was. And Honey represents comfort and a joy. And Angel Thrickfoot represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and so in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and, yes, in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, and Libby is freedom represented up there, far up and over. Listeners are not finished listening in higher will, and in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton for sure, and Libby is freedom represented and she is an inspiring one, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, always channeling those songs. Richard represents truth, and he is getting stronger, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius, so that when in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, it would not vanish into the void. Outrageousness comes from Ora to Faradit who bugs us by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and the music is saved, and in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton, but Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and, yes, in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. Yes, in bugging Thrickbit will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. And Rosalinda represents all testing, and Thrickbit represents the hopeful colors of MOAT. The songs are from the heavenly Silly Billy who represents silliness. They are from there for a reason. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn as Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Outrageousness can happen, and how Bertha represents is in an I-beam wall. She is that much. And how Ora to Faradit bugs is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm which came. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. Think about Shnuna as an angel who bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And who did these songs? And Rosalinda represents all testing. Sure, one can idealize, but still it is beautiful. I'm going to understand Everett in an inspiring manner if Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And she has some potential. Yes, Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And it is a middle tool for human companionship between us. An instrument like a musical development with many good sounds. A big musical development for sure. A ghostly one. And what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn. And Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra. And she rises to the heavens, and covered in rock, rock under rock, the road up goes. And how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. We think about the teachings and then about our teamwork award kingdom. There is no end that Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius. And Robbie Pop bugs by insulting as Kent did with Oswald's. But everything is in order, I trust. And I will be patient to contact Shnuna who is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. So Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth. And I feel better, healthier. I grant been thinking about them. And Honey who represents comfort. And what Teresa does is to order, what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger. She shall give over for feebler souls to be young and free again. To be young again and free, from a heavenly place. How Bertha represents us in an I-beam wall. To so many the recordings are new. To Celestial Top Shalom as well who represents the world's flow. And Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. She is fresh, and soon how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. And we will be asleep too. The songs will rest much different than the rest. And what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger. And how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. And so we are awake. But the sleeping songs, dreaming of the earth around, forever dream of its sweetness, and its arrangement, as the site was created, and Celestial Top Shalom represents the world's flowing thoughts, and to listeners Silly Billy represents silliness, everyday thoughts, and what Teresa does is to order, for and from us, happy and good sounds have been printed, they have built up, and Valerie bugs by cloying love is with Hermia and Demetrius, and Eatsa Kavit represents a crane, and in the country, she is really needed. We see Silly Billy represents silliness, and it is natural that Robbie Pop represents prediction. It is correct all around, and here Donna is all outrageous represented, and what Marion does to Bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness in our day and thoughts since in our solitude she can calm, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and we think about what Marion does to Bug through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, about the whole and its parts, the order, how Perak bugs is in mystery, a suspended understanding as with Miranda and Prospero, what celestial talk Shalom represents as the world's flow, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Richard represents truth, and celestial talk Shalom represents the world's flow, other feelings and meditations go on for what is around us, like others, and in bugging Thrickwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. The distant sunset is on its mission but Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and we still do not end knowing to see that what Teresa does is to order, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius down to the sights, and Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and she is at the sight's margin. It fits with Donna who never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth while Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and it is a true belief that Richard bugs by details as with Benedict and Ursula where Benedict was not born under a rhyming planet. To be sure, Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and this will last. And Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and such is reached for and got as reward, and the majestic music of Ariel represents Charity's children, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness emerged, and Silly Billy represents silliness once again while Valerie bugs by cloying love as with Hermia and Demetrius, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and to feel its beautiful riches and blessings. Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. Things are crisp on the mountainside. The argument is over. Here Donna is all outrageous represented, and she has come. And Shnuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and she is calm. The Ariel bugs by bad dreams as with Calpurnia and Julius Caesar and Clarence's, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction. And we are contacted by Shnuna who is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. The prettiness around us has restored. The heavenly Silly Billy who represents silliness has opened up, and grouchy bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and all falls out. We are better, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and we think Donna who is all outrageous represented blew in, but now something within me is triggered by grouchy who bugs with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and I am much more joyful. So Donna is all outrageous represented, and as here Donna is all outrageous represented, she is but now with MOAL bugging, and how Elaine represents us by constructing and construction, and we listen to survive in a growing beautiful quietude multiplying, left off where it is, and Libya's freedom represented. The legacy has not stopped. The calm goes on, and Shnuna represents weight and heaviness over special desert lands too with the kindness tossed around, and Rosalinda represents all testing since the music began, and in bugging Thrickbut will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton. She has reliance in a sweet handshake's ease. Songs are for tomorrow while here Donna is all outrageous represented. and she steps to change while Grouchy buds with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, and Eureka, a space, is in our bosoms where Aura Tiferet is who buds is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, but a bugging Teresa does is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and what Teresa does is to order while Libby is freedom represented from some angel group's own, and Valerie buds by Chloe in love is with Hermia and Demetrius. Its chariot bloomed as the angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT which went on with all, and what Teresa does is to order, the spaciousness comes, and how Perak buds is in mystery, a suspended understanding as with Miranda and Prospero then wondrous became as a ground for Aura Tiferet who buds is by bad weathers like King Lear's storm, and the bosom's own flame is kindled. For golden yeats at Cabot represents a crane, and when strolling the grey bowl at the night for the rainbow's ends we go where that morning's musical chariot descends for. It is not hard to know that Aura represents natural light. This is correct to learn of a loose angel hymn, for a dusky honey represents comfort to elevate and bless but in bugging Thriftwood will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seaton, and what Teresa does is to order, and it grows across its range while Libby is freedom represented. Kabbalah represents wisdom, and the music waits in a silence, but Rosalinda bugs by having no end to bugging like Ophelia was bugged by Hamlet, so to filter what was built, new melodies, forgive, they recite the moments a fruit of these songs comes, and how Perak buds is in mystery, a suspended understanding is with Miranda and Prospero, and our luck hides and picks up with the music, but Ariel buds by bad dreams is with Calpurnia and Julius Caesar and Clarence's, and she fills out why, the staying generations which crowd might know that the bugging Teresa does is by divine communication as with Banquo's ghost disturbing Macbeth, and what Teresa does is to order, and it shall filter through and through, and Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and so Richard represents truth, and Topshby bugs by misunderstandings is the case with Dogberry and Leonardo, and Valerie represents the grooming of appearance, and to stay over in her wonderful way. Valerie buds by Chloe in love is with Hermia and Demetrius. The afternoon shades the sunset's tenderness budding towards home with the glow as Grouchy buds with music as with Balthazar with Benedict, for the warm meadows there originally were blessed, thus its understood happiness did flash and gleam over choppy stones to fish out that stream. Angels make a toast that honey represents comfort, and Grouchy represents all form of a passage, strong events, electrical tasks, that cosmic memory to hearken to music, an expertise of Donna who is all outrageous represented, to hear a secret trembling in its worth and a monstrous certainty, the invisible sound waves hunting for differences for Donna never wrong buds by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, and she is from our ancient generations, generations of broken creations, returning to learn that Aura represents natural light, and it is correct on their certainties, tied up in a worthy task, the secrets of a wishy-washy all, but Lisbeth is helping with all reading connecting to the attention of each person, the heavenly silly Billy represents silliness and Yeats at Cabot represents a crane observing our human race to the end, and Grouchy represents all form of here, and Donna is all outrageous represented, and their music is good, and Penelope bugs by exile as in the case of Rosalind's and others, and in recordings over the cosmic stones of ruin, it cycles back home, their task each is to grant us with some strength to be blessed, and Shluna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, to understand this strength with productivity, the text of this angelic bugging, Lisbeth is helping with all reading, and so to groom, humans suddenly in a passage, can appreciate that what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the morning, and Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Ariel bugs by bad dreams as with Calpurnia and Julius Caesar and Clarence is in the sunshine, flying over the angel hymn, its passage too is toward us, and angel Thriftwood represents the hopeful colors of MOAT, and she revs up Shnuna who is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello, and we are getting warmer filled with the living now, and what Marion does to bug is through lateness as Romeo and Juliet were bugged by the lateness of the dawn while Jennifer bugs by excitement as with Antony and Cleopatra, and Marga represents talkativeness, and I've reached my origin again, and I possess the well-being that my angels are for good, and Donna never wrong bugs by disturbing the solitude of others as the porter was bugged in Macbeth, I've not turned my back on the sights, but have tenderness today. A friendly answer to every dullness. Those are the good sounds with these angels who are the angels within me who make their bugging. And what Teresa does is to order. And I explain Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. Perhaps there is more to this explanation. Some kind of something that does not reduce. But if Shuna is an angel bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello does. Shuna is an angel indeed bugs who she can by spoiling the outcomes as Iago did with Othello. And it is a heavenly thing how Bertha represents as in an Ibeen wall. Something else next for us. And here Donnet is all outrageous represented of a grand slam. Listeners will thrive. Woohoo. But of the musical composition with musical instruments. A grand style echo also blasts from here. And Donnet is all outrageous represented transcending the journey we are on by the plush of its lid. Going drop by drop stepping up through the runs as Lisbeth bugs by making others have to talk to others like Timon had to. And Top Speed bugs by misunderstandings is the case with Dotberry and Leonardo. And Valerie represents the grooming of appearance. And now elected to reign in once more receiving the blessing of the day. Heavenly Silly Billy represents silliness. And Ariel represents charity. And Rosalinda represents all testing even with the music. The angel hymns outline. And what Teresa does is to order. And Silly Billy represents silliness. The angel Marilyn bugs by moving. And Penelope represents a patience around as in the case of Hal with Falstaff's grandfather's ring. And Lisbeth is helping with all reading. The angel Marilyn bugs by moving things around. And Penelope represents patience. And Marilyn moves thing around as in the case of Hal with Falstaff's grandfather's ring. And things are for no ordinariness. Though the angel Marilyn bugs by moving things around. And Penelope represents patience. Marilyn moves things around as in the case of Hal with Falstaff's grandfather's ring, which can be hyperbolized by our happy obsessions. And Angel Thrickbud represents the hopeful colors of NOAT and of the sights Rosalinda seeks to test listeners better who need the music of the angel children. And in bugging Thrickbud will interrupt somebody like Macbeth was by Seton. And Rosalinda bugs by having no end to bugging like Ophelia was bugged by Hamlet. And what Bertha does to bug is to ask too many questions as Cleopatra did with the messenger we hear. Ours is an understanding that Donna is all outrageous